Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to Loveseat for Two. We are Andrew and Michaela Dorban. We are life coaches, pastors, and I am the author of the book, Marriage a Love Seat for Two. Today we're actually going to look at shaking things up for 2017. And we have an interesting topic to discuss with you today. And my lovely wife is going to tell you all about it.
Ready?
Yes, go ahead, baby.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So the topic today that we'd like to talk about, as we alluded to last week, is goal setting. And the reason we're shaking it up is because for most people, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, a lot of people, the majority of people don't think to write them down. And usually when you have a goal written down, you're more likely to follow through on that goal. And then for those of us who do actually write our goals down, we get to this point in the month of January, round about this time. So round about the 15th, 13th, 15th of the month, where we start to, just kind of go off track and start to slacken off on our goals. So today what I'd like to do is give us a few different options as to how we can stay focused, stay on track, and so that it won't feel like such a magnanimous thing to attain. So we're going to shake it up, and in shaking it up, we're going to break it down. So New Year's resolutions are usually something that we want to change. It's usually a year-long goal for most people. And sometimes when it's that long, it's hard to keep track of it if we don't write them down, one, and if we don't have a plan in place to get it done. So what I would suggest in this Facebook Live today is two different ways that you can work on your goal so that you can break it down into bite-sized chunks that you can manage. I've been following a lady by the name of Pamela Shaw. If you go on my personal Facebook page, you'll see a Facebook Live from her about goal setting and living your vision, designing your life and living your vision. This is a workbook that I use personally for my goal setting. And the key that she uses is breaking down that yearly goal into 90-day chunks. And so it's a little bit more manageable. So if you have an end goal that by the end of the year you want to attain a certain thing, then you walk yourself backwards in 90-day increments. So in the first 90 days, what do I want to achieve? And then in the next 90 days, and then the third 90 days, the fourth, until you get to the end of the year. When it's done that way, then you're able to see the smaller pieces. And so it's much easier for you to handle a small bite instead of trying to, look at this mammoth goal. They say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So that's the whole point of shaking it up, doing something different with our goal setting this time around. Now, if 90 days still seems like a whole lot of time and it still seems like it's a long period, then the next thing that I would suggest that I learned from a series that I follow from someone by the name of Darren Hardy. He does a Darren Dailies. He talks about doing 21-day goals. So instead of, shooting for a longer period of time, choose a goal that you can get into the habit of doing over a 21-day period. And then you do another, you extend it for another 21 days, or you hit another goal for another 21 days. And research shows that once you've done something consistently for 21 days, it starts to become a habit. So that's where you'll start to get into the groove of things.
So could you give us like an example of what would be an ideal goal that you set for 21 days and how you'd go about achieving that?
All right, so let me get vulnerable. One of my goals is to lose some weight this year. As you know, I had an injury that had me laid up for a while, so I gained quite a bit of weight that I don't want to keep. So for me, I have an end goal of how much weight I'd like to lose by the end of the year. And then what I did was for my 90-day goals, I divided that into four. So I know that my goal for the next 90 days is to lose this much. So it's not the whole amount, it's this much, and then the next much. Breaking it down even further into, let's say, the 21-day goal, one of the things that will you can do is, let's say you can decide to start drinking more water. That's a goal I have where each day I drink a specific number of ounces, and I do that. Well, now for the past, I started mine in December because remember I started my new year December 1. So that's how I shook myself up to get myself going. So every day I'll drink those number of ounces. Or you may say, well, I'm gonna cut back on sugar for 21 days, and you can kind of work that goal. And once you have the hang of that, then you can say, okay, I'm gonna eat completely clean the next 21 days. So you start with chunks. So if your end goal is I'm gonna be a clean eater come December 31st, you start with increments. So the first 21 might be I'm gonna cut out sugar, I'm gonna cut out sweets. The next one might be, I want to go gluten free. However you decide that you want to, do that, then you break it down into those chunks of time so that it's much more manageable, and you're able to track it better. You're able to see your progress because it's a shorter period of time. You can manage it a little bit better. You can also revise and look at your goal to see, is this reasonable? For me, when I started in December, the amount that I wanted to lose for the year was what I had originally intended to lose over 90 days. And when I did some research, I realized that if I attempted to lose that much weight over 90 days, I would be harming myself. So after doing some research and, I had to revisit my goal and break it down a little bit more so that not only am I making the goal a goal that is achievable, I am also breaking it down into time periods that I can manage to do.
So you're looking to not just use your goal as a way of reaching an objective, where you're putting steps within the goal so that you can get there. So if we have goals and we have no steps in which to get us there, it's almost like us having a ladder that has no steps,
yes,
with no rungs. So it's good to know that we don't just write things down, but we write them down with a strategy as to how we're going to get to the end result.
Exactly.
All right.
So benchmark goals are very important. And as my husband talked about the ladder, see the length of your ladder as your whole year. And then each rung is that benchmark. Whether you're going to do every 21 days, you'll get, to the next level of your goal and the next step, or whether if you are, beyond that, where you can manage a 90-day chunk, then your steps on your ladder would be those 90-day chunks. What am I going to accomplish in 90 days? And breaking that down to say, what am I going to accomplish each month of those 90 days? So each 30-day period, what's my end point for each 90-day period, and go at it from there. And constantly, another thing that I learned from Pam Shaw is to constantly, review and revisit your goal. So for me, I'm looking at my goal at the end of each week and saying, okay, how well did I do? What did I mess up on? Because I do mess up on things at times. But I'm able to look back at the goal, refresh my mind as to what my target is, and start my week afresh and keep going forward. If you fall down, if January 13th came or January 15th came and you have messed up, just pick yourself up and start again. It's better for you to mess up and keep going than to mess up and just stop right there. So keep going. If you missed a day of whatever your challenge is to yourself, just start the next day fresh and keep plugging forward. Because another thing in my industry that we like to say is just because the date changed doesn't mean the goal have to change. So you can still have the same goal, and you may not meet the goal at the date that you originally started out with, but if you don't give up, then you will eventually meet that goal. So
So I am listening, and I am kind of trying to think, as a lot of people think, how do we incentivize ourselves as we go along? Because the old folks used to say, encouragement sweetens labor.
okay.
So what do we do for ourselves so that as we achieve bit by bit, and as we progress bit by bit, what are the things we can do to kind of encourage ourselves to keep going?
All right. Very good question. You got some good questions here. Okay.
Thank you.
So here's the thing that I like. You have a choice. You know yourself best, so you know what will be an incentive for you. And it does not have to be a huge thing, because here's how the brain works. A win is a win is a win. Whether it's a huge win or a small win, the brain just sees it as, yay, we accomplished something. So this is why too it's so important to break those goals down. Because if you are able to get through one day doing all the things that you said you were going to do, that's a small win. And in your brain, it's like, hooray, we did it. Oh yeah, we did it. And so that gives you the boost to do it the next day. Now, whenever you have a win, it's important for you to, like my husband said, treat yourself to something. It does not have to be big. So if, let's say, you decide that you're gonna, eat healthy, or you're gonna cut out dessert during the week, but then if you're good about it, then on Sunday you can have a dessert. That's a treat. That's something that's an incentive. You still want to make sure that your portions are in check though. And, if possible, do something that's going to be a healthy dessert. So you still get the feeling of, I'm eating something that's delicious, but it's not undoing everything that you did that whole week. So there are different things that you can do to incentivize and to keep yourself on track. This is something that a lot of people may not think about, but even the very act of creating a list and striking off each thing as you accomplish it is actually a treat. In the mind, the way the brain functions, it sees it as, yes, I did that. And so just the act of striking something off your to-do list is actually a little party going off in your brain. It's sending out the right hormones, and it's allowing your body to start to like the new feeling of meeting the goal. One of the things that my director sent to us just this week was something that talks about the owl brain and the wow brain. So what it is our brain or our body is always receiving hormones. So if you find that you're you're always in a state of stress, or things are always going a particular way, it might be that you're constantly feeding on cortisol, which is the stress hormone. But then when you decide to make a change, for example, if you haven't been exercising and you decide to start exercising, then your body is getting a totally different chemical being released when you're exercising. So because the cells were accustomed to one way of living, and now you're introducing another way of living, it takes the cells in our bodies a little while to kind of adjust to this new way of life. And they're like, whoa, what's going on here? What's going on here? I'm not accustomed to this. But if we push ourselves beyond that point of, ooh, this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel right, this is not the norm, this is not in my comfort zone. If we're able to push ourselves beyond that point, then we will get on the other side where our cells now start to crave the good hormones. They start to crave the dopamine and I think it's called serotonin, all the good stuff that is released from doing the positive things. The body starts to crave those things, and so you make that switch. So that's another way that we are able to treat ourselves without even realizing that we're treating ourselves.
Okay. So from what I've gathered, you've really looked at the year, and for those who are just joining us, we're looking at shaking up our year 2017. What you're saying is that we look at the entire year, and we break it down into manageable increments.
Right.
And based on what you're saying, it sounds like you're looking at 90 days. You may be looking at 21 days, but it also comes down to today.
Right.
What I do,
daily.
what I do on today, what I do tomorrow. Having a list, and you mentioned that it's more rewarding psychologically if we write things down,
Right.
as against making a note in our notebook in our phone.
Yes.
So
Yes.
for those of you who are looking on and watching, maybe that's something you could do. It is something that I'm currently experimenting with, and it does feel good at the end of the day when you're able to check off some things that you set out to achieve in the morning. And you've also encouraged me to put my list together the night before.
Yes, yes.
So waking up tomorrow morning, we wake up with a list that we've already planned to achieve. And then at the end of the day, we can review that. And then at the end of the week, we can also review our progress and make adjustments as we go along.
Right.
All right. So that seems like a reasonable and manageable plan. It's better than just making a goal just by just verbalizing a goal and then going all year without any kind of a measurable way to see how well you're doing or not so well you're doing. So as we shake up our year 2017, we'd like to encourage you to go ahead and set goals. We don't want to challenge you even on this video that as you watch this video and you look over your life, you look over what you'd like to achieve in this year 2017, we'd like you within the hour of watching this video that you put
whether
together
live or the replay.
Yes, you put together a couple of goals. Let's just make it 2. We want to do 2.
And it's funny you should say that, especially if you're not someone who's accustomed to doing goal setting. It's good to do maybe 1 or 2 so that you don't get overwhelmed, because then you're not going to feel like you're winning or having any progress. So 1 or 2.
Yes. So once you've made those that 1 or those 2 goals, what we'd like for you to do is just jump back on this feed and just say, I did it.
Yes.
You don't have to tell us what you did. Just say, I did it. And we will understand. We will know that you not only watch the video for watching's sake, but you are now using it to help you to shake up 2017 so that you can end really, really strong. All right. Any final words, babe?
That's it. I think just even what you said about writing it down, there's something that happens with your brain and your hand when you write down your goal that's much more concrete than if you just type it on your tablet. So writing it down and getting it out of your system, doing your goals the night before or writing your list down the night before also helps you to sleep better. For some of us, myself included, if I don't write it down, then I dream about it, I think about it while I'm sleeping, and I don't rest well because it's on my mind all night. Like, oh, I need to remember to do this. Oh, I need to remember to do that. So writing it down the night before gets it out of my system and onto the paper. I don't have to worry about remembering it because it's written down. And then I have a plan that I can go forward with the next day full steam ahead.
All right, so another suggestion I would like to make is a very simple suggestion. Give this thing a try. If you haven't done it before, give it a try. And I would suggest that you get yourself a little notepad or a little notebook with the date. So you date every day that you've written down so that you can track your progress. What you will find at the end of the week, even if you don't achieve every single thing that you set out to do, you will find that you've achieved some things.
Yes.
And it will also give you the opportunity to make adjustments and even to check to see whether your goal is realistic or not.
Right.
All right. So we hope this has been helpful to you. I know this has taken us just beyond the limits of a marriage setting, but this is important for married folks as well as people who are yet to be married, or wherever you are in the relationship spectrum. As long as you're alive, it's good that we have goals and that there are ways in which we can achieve them. All right, so we thank you for joining us. We're looking for you to say, I did it at the bottom of the screen. And God bless you, and we will see you next time.
See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.